stand, we rise, we care, all night. We stand, we rise, we care, all night. We stand, we rise, we care, all night.
So I want to real quick look at some of the benefits of freedom, some of the advantages, or let's just say it this way. Why is it important for you and I to be free? Can we say it that way? Why is it so important for you and I not just to have an idea that it's there and it's available for me, but so that you and I can reach out and grab a hold of this gift that God has given us. Man, there are some advantages in having that revelation. Okay? So, the first one that I want to look at is one of the reasons it is important for us to know that we are free, or we have the ability, it's there, it's available, and we are, if we receive it, is because we represent God when we do. I said represent at first, but I like to break it down as represent. Okay? You know, because there's a lot of people, I'm going to say represent Him to the world that we live in. Because God He's everywhere. He's showing up. He's making Himself known. But a lot of times, because of bondages and shackles and that little stake that's holding us back that has no business doing it, we lose sight. We lose focus. The whole world has lost the idea that God even exists, and we choose another option. But what God is saying, I'm setting you free so you can represent me. Do it over again. In your life, show that I am God. See, that's where it gets scary, because we're like, He's going to use me to present Him in the earth? Yeah. I know it's crazy, right? That's a miracle in itself, that He would use me to show His goodness in the earth. This is awesome stuff. Daniel chapter 1, verse 5 through 7. You know the story. Children of Israel taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian captivity. And there was a few guys, they looked good to the king. And the king figured, they have potential. Think I'll use them in my court. Daniel chapter 1, verse 5 through 7, it says, and the king appointed for them daily provision. And he's going to fatten them up, if you would. Make them look like them. Put a little meat on their bones, kind of get a little color to the cheeks. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of that time they might serve before the king. Now, from among those of the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. To them the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belteshazzar. Watch it. To Hananiah, Shadrach. To Mishael, Meshach. And to Azariah, Abednego. Now, we've heard of these guys, right? We've heard of Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego. And that's the way we know them. That's who they are. But those weren't their original names. Those weren't their Hebraic names. Those weren't the names that their fathers gave them. Their fathers gave them names that represent the Lord, their God. But when they entered into captivity, when they entered into slavery and they were taken into slavery, one of the things that the enemy did, and he will try to do to us, is to shift our identity. If you want to get someone to fall into a place of slavery, get them to forget who they are. You see stories, you see movies, the person with amnesia, they on some maroon island somewhere and having a clue. They're playing with, soccer balls, or, I know he wasn't out of his mind, but, volleyball, excuse me. But these stories where a person loses their mind, and it's easy to hold them hostage because you could tell them anything. You are a donkey. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm sure you are. Yeah, eat grass. No, whatever. But this is what they were doing. They were changing their identity. Their names represented who are, and when you look at these names, and we won't go into today, the names that they gave them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, these were names that represented their gods. They thought they were slick. But here was the deal. They were changing their names on the outward scale, but not on the inside. Okay? And this is what that's one of the things that the enemy will try to do to hold us hostage, is for us to forget who we are and start identifying ourselves as something else or someone else. Okay? Forget the authority that I have and walk in the weakness of something else. Okay? And then it goes on, chapter 3 and verse 16, it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar," oh, by the way, the king had a great idea. Going to build a statue. Everyone's going to bow. Those who don't, going to be in trouble. Putting it lightly. Okay? Then he goes on and says, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. And he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." And this is these guys, okay? Now, it's interesting because they're imprisoned or enslaved in a sense, but yet their minds were still free. Their bodies were shackled. And this is what they're saying. They're saying, we will not bow to the opinions, the desires, the images, the false ideas, or the lies that you're presenting before us, because our God is greater. He's just that. He's good. He's awesome. And of course, the king, he was upset. A tad bit upset. He's like, okay, fine. I'm going to set you up in the hotel of fiery furnace. And so he ordered the furnace to be, extra hot. I mean, it was hotter than normal, to the point that those that threw him in died. And he put him in there, and this is what the rest of the story looked like. Then the king, Nebuchadnezzar, was astonished, and he arose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "True, O king." "Look," he answered, "I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." And when I read that, I'm like, okay, now here you had this king. He was set on his gods. He was set on doing things his way, and he was intent on it having that way, to the point that I'm going to kill anyone who don't bow to my wishes. In other words, you are enslaved to my opinions, my ideas. But when these guys are like, you know what? I am free in who I am. I may have been, if you would, kidnapped from my homeland, but I am not hurt in my spirit. So therefore, I know who God is, and because I know who he is, listen to me, O king, it will be known to you, if God, even if he don't save us from this, even though we know he can, you let it be known who's God. And because they were free enough to walk under the ideas, the authority, and the opinions of their God, they chose not to bow. Now, here's the deal. If I choose to walk under the identity of something else, I'm subject to start taking on those ways, those ideas, those thoughts, those mannerisms. But if I choose to know, okay, God, my identity is in you. It's not in the world around me. It's not in the circumstances around me. Lord, I am free from the opinions, images of man. So whatever happened, let it happen. But I'm going to give you honor, and I'm going to give you glory. And because of that type of freedom, look what happened. They went in with confidence. If he deliver us, we know he can. But even if he don't, we honor him. And it'll be known to you, O king, that he is God. And this is what happened. The king, it said he was astonished. Said, uh-oh. 3 went in and they were bound. But I see 4 that are loose. And one of them carried the appearance of the Son of God. The reason I read that is because a lot of times when we recognize and choose the freedom that the Lord has given us, that I walk in, that I do not have to be shackled, and my opinions does not have to be made by things around me, but I simply walk in the confidence of my God. People around me, around you, will begin to notice that the God you serve is real. That the God you serve will come through for you. And this is where the king was. It changed him. It brought him from one end of the spectrum to the other. It's like there's something about these guys that's different. They represented God. Because of their freedom, because of the way they walked, they presented God to him again. Look, O king, that even what you tried to destroy is still alive. Matter of fact, not only is it alive, but it's not even burned. It's important for you and I to know that the freedom of our king is ours, so we can enjoy the benefits of his freedom. And one of those benefits is that others around us can see that God exists. Because people are used to everybody else around them being bound and shackled and imprisoned by issues of their own. And they make decisions based on those issues. But when they see someone who is saying, my issues don't control me, circumstances does not control me, the king who created heaven and earth is the one that influenced my decisions. So be it, king. He's able to deliver us. And I want to tell you this, as we choose to walk in his freedom, don't be ashamed. He will deliver. One other one I want to share with you real quick, and I'll make this one brief as possible. The other benefit of walking in freedom, or if you would, or the other reason it's important for us to grab a hold that freedom is ours, is that because of your freedom, you'll be able to deliver others that are bound. Okay? Remember this guy, Joseph, who had the dream? First of all, he was a young brother. You know, the little snotty-nosed brother that always got his way. He's the baby boy. Daddy gives him the coat of many colors. And you got to put yourself in the big brother's shoes, too. It's like, well, I was here first. Why didn't I get the coat? I was in the field before the boy was even born. I've paid my dues. But nevertheless, Joseph got the coat of many colors. But along the line, not only did he get the coat of many colors, he began to have dreams. And Joseph would have these dreams, and he would go, and he was just like any other little young boy. He didn't know how to control himself. He would just tell his dreams to anybody. He'd go to his daddy, this is going to bow, this is going to happen. And my brothers, you're going to bow before me too. Of course, he didn't use those terms. He told the dreams, which they interpreted as, you're saying we're going to bow before you. And he was like, just a dream. Well, the brothers didn't like it, so Joseph met him out in the field one day, and they put him in the pit, sold him off to slavery. Joseph is in a pit. He's go from the pit into slavery, into Egypt, And one day he comes out of the pit because of the ability to interpret dreams. Joseph becomes second man in charge in Egypt. Pharaoh said, you were right next to me. There's nothing's going to happen in Egypt that you don't give word of okay to. Joseph's like, cool. See, I told him. I'm the man. You ever been there? Okay, no, he probably didn't go. Well, I don't know. He could have. But later on down the line, because of the dream that Pharaoh had about a famine that was going to take place, 7 years of good, 7 years of bad, Joseph interpreted, got him to a position for him to operate in his gifts. The famine hit, 2 years of famine, and things are horrible. Back to those brothers. Remember those brothers that sold him into prison? Yeah, they're in need right now. They're so much need. They ride into Egypt looking for food. Remember, Joseph, the little brother that they sold, the little snotty-nosed boy, yeah, they sold him into prison and into slavery, and now he's in charge. And they show up with their hand out like this. I don't know how you respond to these sorts of things, but this is a grand opportunity to go like, aha, I told you. Boy, did I tell you. I told you I was the man. Now, come on, let's hear it. Kiss my feet. Here we go. Bow. I want to see it. Come on, before you, you want a grain here. Mercy, uncle. All these sorts of fleshly ideas of getting revenge will try to enter into this scenario, you would think, right? Well, kind of. So his brother shows up, and they're looking for help. A few things happen, but this is where I love the way God can free people, even after they've been in prison. Look at this. And Joseph said to his brothers, please come near to me. So they came near. Then he said, I am Joseph, your brother. Oh, yeah, I'm Joseph. Remember me? This is a great place to insert that right now. But yeah, God is greater. I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now, why do you have to bring that up? It's kind of like, I don't want you to forget this. But now, do not therefore be grieved grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. And God sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. This is a guy who had been abused. This is a guy who had been sold. This is a guy who had been rejected. This is a guy who his own family, this wasn't a stranger that did this to him. This is flesh and blood, brothers. And he recognized, yes, this has happened. This took place. He said, but here's the reality of it. And this is what lets me know that he was free in himself. He said, God sent me here to deliver you, to give you a place of safety. And see, that's one of the things that if I choose to say, Lord, here's the issues that I walk with. I want to be free from this. Not just for myself. Because just maybe, I might be able to help someone else to be delivered from the things that they've been shackled to. Say, yeah, you sold me. You made those decisions. But at the end of the day, God did this for us all. I'm not bent behind your decisions because you wanted to be the man in Daddy's house and Daddy chose to give me the coat and you was all twisted up behind it. You didn't think it was fair. And so you made decisions based off of your own hurts and your own wounds. And you hurt me. See, that's what happens. Hurting people hurt people. And they're easily hurt by people. But Joseph's like, but don't get it twisted. God had a plan. And he sent me here to deliver us all. And one of the things that I'm learning in life is that, I'm sure we all have a story. And the things that we've gone through, and a lot of them that was bad, that was bitter. And you know what? And just, I'm glad we can take it to Jesus. But one of the things, he's saying, okay, here's a place you know that you're free. When you know that you're free, that you're able to even look at that which tried to destroy you and use it to help someone else. Don't allow those situations be excuses for you not to enjoy life. But you can take those situations and say, God, you created me. You put me here. So whatever's happened, it's happened. I may need to get some help. That's fine. Whatever I need to do, Lord, I bring it to you because I know at the end of the day, you said that they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of their testimony. We want to make a testimony out of this pain. And from this, it become a catalyst of freeing other people. See, Joseph told them truth. And the truth was, you weren't all that. You may have been mad, and you may have been upset, and you may have been jealous because I had the coat and I was having dreams, but you weren't that bad. You could have done nothing if God didn't allow you to do it. So therefore, he sent me here for a purpose. Don't allow pain, shame, abuse to stop you from living. He want to take that and free me from it and use it to bring life to those that are around me. You know what manure is, right? Or fertilizer, rather. That stuff that we use to cause plants to grow. It was manure. It stinks. And a lot of times, stuff stinks. Sometimes there's situations in life, it just stinks. Okay? And if you're giving me a choice to go back through that again or go another direction, we're going another direction, Lord. But if you so desire, no. But he will use that stinky stuff and he'll put it around the roots of someone else's life. And you begin to see them come forward. And they have something to lean on and say, you know what? If Don could do it, I can do it. If Robbie can stand and give his testimony from a life that he said that he didn't want to live, but God rescued him from that life and gave him his. If he can stand up and give that testimony about how easy that button is pushed and bring life to others that hear it, so can I. There's hope for me. So I choose to walk in a place where I'm passionate about being free, not just accepting the idea that it exists. But I want to be free, not just for myself, but one that I can present God or represent God to the world I live in and help bring deliverance to those who stuck in a place that they have no business of being stuck in. God is just that good. He's just that awesome. He's great. He's wonderful. And he's saying today, we can start over. Shift it just like that. We can start over. Well, it hurt. Yeah. But we can start over today.